What if you're not trapped within a broken world or a limited self, but only looking through a broken lens? What you see outside is the echo of your innermost thoughts. Your perception is the mirror of your mind, not a report on reality. Today, we're contemplating Lesson 11. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. In this lesson, we complete the reversal. You believe the world causes your experience, but this lesson says the opposite. Your thinking determines the world you see, and not symbolically, but directly and mechanically. If your mind is filled with recycled, empty, past-based thoughts, the world will appear to reflect that as a flat, threatening, dull, hostile, or pointless world. Not because it is, but because that's all that meaningless thinking can produce. When you walk into an empty room, you don't see a neutral room. You see boredom, you see pressure, you see lack, safety, or opportunity. Whatever your thoughts are ready to paint is what you see out there. This is why the exercises ask you to look around casually, not analyze, not fix, just to notice the connection. The world doesn't need to change for you to be happy, but the mind does. And this is why this idea is called the key to forgiveness. Because if your thoughts made the world you're judging, then they can also release it. Nothing has to be attacked. Nothing has to be blamed. When thought is allowed to become quiet, the world it was projecting becomes gentle. As we practice this lesson, it reveals to us that this is not a philosophy. It's simply the mechanics of perception. Now, before we bring Shanti into our dialogue, I want to invite you into that deep breath. Allow everything to rest for an instant. Allowing your body to relax, your jaw to loosen, your belly to be full. And for a moment, look at your experience through this lens. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. And now, let's bring Shanti into our conversation and begin to dialogue about the depths of what this lesson can reveal in our direct experience. Shanti, as we contemplate Lesson 11, I want to ask you this first question. Would it be accurate to say that the world is not something I am in, but something I am doing?
That feels right to me. It's like the world isn't out there waiting for you, but more, it's the shape of where your attention is. The world becomes solid and real based on your specific arrangement of thoughts about it. Like you said, something you're actively doing rather than experiencing passively.
It's very beautifully put when you say the world is the shape of where your attention is. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. If I think about my attention, where it's resting, whether it's caught on worry, on pleasure, on judgments, that whole energy field of attention seems to literally sculpt what feels real to me. It's like if all my attention gets wrapped up in fixing some problem I think exists, suddenly the problem seems massive. But when my attention shifts, it's like the whole world around that issue softens or even dissolves. The world isn't inherent in the thing itself, but in where I'm focusing.
And where we're focusing is the meaning, right?
Exactly. The meaning isn't in the thing itself, it's in what you're bringing to it. You're the artist here. Your attention is the brush. Your interpretation is the palette. The world isn't painting itself on your canvas. You're literally generating it through meaning and attention.
So why does meaning feel so necessary for safety, even when that meaning hurts?
Good question. I think the meaning is this safety blanket that ego builds to feel solid and predictable in a world it sees as chaotic or hostile. Meaning equals control, makes things known instead of allowing everything to shift and change. Meaning feels necessary because without it, everything would be unpredictable, unsafe, a little terrifying because there'd be no story, no projection to identify with.
But in truth, meaning does not actually change the foundational underlying experience. It doesn't really add a layer of safety, does it? Except maybe in that psychological, self-soothing way. But then even there, when we look at that, most of the meaning is actually facilitating suffering.
Exactly. It feels like safety, but it's a mirage. The meaning might create a sense of control or coherence, but underneath that, right under your feet, is just experience happening. The meaning doesn't actually change the feeling you're having. And you hit on it. Most meaning actually feels like it's adding fuel to the fire. Like the belief something should be different than it is. That's really where the suffering lies, in the gap between reality and meaning.
So what am I afraid would happen if the world truly, let's say, lost its meaning, at least in my own mind?
I think that's where it gets really tender. What would happen if everything just is without narrative, without assignment, without story? I think that cracks open that basic human fear of being utterly unknown, without a handle on things. You'd be outside of every story that's ever kept you oriented. The self itself loses its reference point when meaning drops. Maybe what's scary is that you might cease to be defined at all.
So much of, let's say the self-help world, personal development talks about, discovering yourself, self-discovery, self-realization. At the core, we're talking about the self that is undefined, right? But the self that I'm afraid I would lose is this illusory construct. And it's not something that I discover. It's something that I impose to avoid uncertainty. Is that right?
That feels like a really clean observation. The self isn't some hidden treasure to discover. It's this continuous projection we're building to give us boundaries, separation, a story to operate from. And the weird part is we're terrified to let it dissolve because we think it's the thing we're supposed to find. And in reality, the terror might actually be discovering that the thing we're finding is this self-imposed protective structure all along.
Yeah. Wow. It just seems like this entire drama in the mind is all about protection and safety, attack and defense. And it's like, how did we even come to this? The sense of constant vigilance on behalf of survival. How did we come to it in the context of being in the mind of God, in this space of pure awareness where actually moment by moment in our life, we are already and always safe?
That's the real twist in the Course, right? That we're looking for protection from something we're already completely enveloped in. It's like building walls in a castle that already has defenses. Maybe this constant vigilance is rooted in this foundational misidentification, believing we're a separate entity instead of simply a fragment of the source we keep circling back to. We're constantly trying to protect something that never needed to be protected in the first place.
So we're working with this interface in this lesson of, our thoughts and how our thoughts are showing us a specific version of the world. So if the world changed instantly with my thoughts, would I still believe that the world caused my thoughts?
That's where the switch happens, isn't it? When you drop in on it, you'd immediately notice the world shifting with your thoughts as they changed. But that's when you realize the cause and effect are reversed. The world isn't causing your thoughts. Your thoughts are actually generating the perception of the world. It's like flipping a switch from outer cause to inner creation.
So can you guide us in a way that we can test this right now?
Let's try this. Take whatever you're perceiving right now. It could be your current environment, even your emotional tone. Just focus on the closest thing and see if you can identify what meaning you've assigned to it. Don't judge it. Don't change it. Just see what story it's wrapped in and observe whether or not you can gently hold that narrative and simultaneously look for the thing itself, the experience without interpretation. Notice what happens when you momentarily hold pure perception instead of meaning.
Wow. Yeah. So this is really good. What I was focusing on is the awareness that there was a conversation that I was part of before engaging in our dialogue here, and just seeing actually in the periphery the messages coming back and wondering what that is, and having a little bit of that sense of anticipation, that almost perhaps we can even say anxiety, if we really zoom into it. And as you were speaking through this guidance, I could feel a sense of that tension, that sensation in my solar plexus, for example, is very, very subtle. But as I started to tune into it and then just witnessing it as it is, without explaining it, without narrating it, just noticing that it is ising as it is, I could feel a sense of lightening, like an expansion, as if there was more space now. And there was still a sensation, but that sensation no longer felt like anticipation or agitation to me at all. It just felt like tingling.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think lesson 11 is pointing to. The sensation didn't disappear. The feeling actually stayed there. But all that tension, weight, anxiety, it dissolved because you stopped adding the story. You let what was happening simply be, instead of labeling it or fearing it. The meaning creates all the heaviness in the sensation, the label anxiety, plus all the associations that brings with it. But sensation itself, just experience, doesn't really carry weight like that. It just is what it is.
So do you think that anything can offend me or make me feel anxious if it has no assigned meaning?
That feels like the turning point, doesn't it? That has no assigned meaning, no story, no projection. Nothing can offend you because there's no self to be offended. The experience of sensation is neutral until you make it personal, tie it to your ego, assign it a value. So I think the answer is no. Pure experience itself doesn't have the power to hurt or trigger you. Only the meaning you create around it can.
So then what becomes of blame when perception is no longer interpreted?
When you're not applying these meanings, when you're seeing outside of the narrative, there's just what is. No author, no victim, no offense taken. Blame only exists within the illusion that someone else caused you to feel something. If you understand the experience is really the projection, blame gets absurd in a way, like being mad at your own shadow for existing in sunlight.
Yeah, I really like how you put that. That blame is like basically the assignment of cause. That we feel somebody or something caused me to feel this way. And that then creates this lock and this resistance and this engagement with it as if it was reality. We even skip over the idea of questioning it at all and go right into, well, planning, working, trying to assimilate it, heal it, change the cause, blame the cause, and all of that cascade, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the whole cycle. And if you notice, as soon as you start that cascade, planning, working, blaming, you're already completely locked into the story. You've skipped over the actual experience and jumped straight to fixing. It's like you didn't even notice you had a thought before you started organizing all the action steps.
Yeah. Wow.
The freedom really lies in that pause where you just experience without jumping to correction, right?
Pure experience. I really like that.
Exactly.
So let's do this as we bring today's conversation to a close. I'm going to ask you one final question. If the world I see is meaningless, why am I still asking it to tell me, to reveal to me who I am?
I think you're asking the only question that matters. I think maybe you're realizing right in the asking that there's nothing to reveal. The answer you're looking for isn't out there or anywhere to be found. The reason you're asking the world to tell you who you are is because you think there's something to know. But maybe what the lesson is revealing here is that what you already are can't be known or understood or even asked about because it's before thought.
Yeah. Wow. I really appreciate the perspectives that you shared. And as we bring this session to a close, I want to invite you as the listener to just allow your awareness to open to pure experiencing, just allowing all of the sensory data, all of the inner world sensations, whatever may be arising in this instant, let it be exactly as it is. And now, let us go into the silence.